Welcome to How to Let Go of a Narcissist, where we explore healing journeys and tools to help survivors of narcissistic abuse reclaim their power. I'm your host, Marv Curtis, and today I'm honored to welcome Renee as our guest. So she's in the process of leaving her partner, and she's here to share some insights that might help you on your path. Welcome, Renee.
Hi, how are you?
Really just great, thanks. So let's just dive right in. Can you share a little bit about yourself and what led to this point in your healing journey?
Well, a little bit about myself. I just had my 60th birthday. I live in Texas at my favorite pickleball place. And it was through pickleball that I met this person. And so many, in hindsight, looking back, like, oh, there was the red flag, there was the red flag, there was the red flag, because he was so charming, whatever. But we just gradually got closer and closer. We were just friends for a while. And then slowly but surely, he started taking up more of my time, going to lunch, going pickleball, paddle shopping. And I liked it, because he knew what I needed and wanted, they just know how to zero in on that. I was looking to have a companion, because I was, by myself, lonely. So that's how it started. And then, I thought, wow, he wants to spend all this time with me. And I just felt so honored, I felt like, wow, this is great. So, and then it started at about, we met in November of 23, but we really didn't start having a relationship until maybe May of last year. But it's the first outburst or tantrum was on my birthday. I think I shared that with you last year. And it was like a jolt to my body because it just comes out of nowhere. And again, looking back, I realized he never apologized. And I didn't even look for an apology because I just thought, it was just a misunderstanding or whatever. And then it just escalated from there.
So when you say escalated, what do you mean?
So
Are you talking frequency or intensity?
Both. And he would criticize me for, certain things. It wasn't just one particular aspect of my character. Or it was just like if I went left, I did it wrong. If I went right, it would be, I'm just speaking figuratively. It was just always something. And it could be so tiny. But he would criticize me with such conviction that I'm like, well, I must have done something wrong, or else he wouldn't make it a big deal. So,
right. So you are no contact right now. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, low contact. I haven't seen him for 2 weeks. We'll text every once in a while. But when we get on the phone, he'll start attacking me again. When I start hearing it, it's like a roll of thunder about to happen. So I just say, wait a minute. I do not want to engage in this conversation with you. So I think I'm just going to have to hang up. And then if you want at another time when you've calmed down, I'd be happy to talk with you. And I've never done that before with him. So that felt really good. But I think it was a shock to him.
Yeah.
And so I just got to stay strong because I just felt so abused and it was so toxic. And so I even get a little jittery in my voice just talking about it. I don't know if you can tell, but yeah, that's where we are right now.
You've been setting boundaries for the last couple of weeks, and that's a big step for you. And
Huge.
As you've done that, have you noticed that he escalates, or is he just backing off? And what's his response?
Well, the last time I just said I have to go, goodbye. So I hung up. I didn't even bother to wait. But yes, it will escalate. If I always tell, like I always share in my meetings because I belong to this online group. The higher his volume, the lower mine goes, and I know it's going to escalate. But it doesn't do. He wants me to react. He wants me to explode. Because I remember one time I did it and I learned my lesson and I just couldn't take it. And he said, "Oh, there's my Renee. Now the real Renee's here." And I'm like, okay, this is the game they play. So I never did it again.
So what made you finally decide you needed to go no contact or low contact?
Well, you've been working with me for several months. I've been trying and I fall off the wagon and I try again and I fall because I fall for it, even though I know because I've watched so many videos and you and I have talked so much. And I know you ask me sometimes, like, do you think he's going to change? And I know he's not, because in all the videos, they say they don't. But something just, it's like a pull. I guess as part of the abuse, it's just that pull. But now, even the last time if I got pulled in, I had more of an awareness. I was ready for it, even though it still affected me emotionally. At least I understood what it was about. So I can't remember when I contacted you. I'm going to say like August, September, something like that. Was that right?
Yeah, about that.
Oh, no, was it you? No, it was before I contacted you. I started doing this self-doubt and like confused and, all of that. And so I just started Googling, and this whole thing about narcissism came up. And like like a lot of other people, you think of them as being grandiose and want this attention, obvious attention. They're annoying, but he was nothing like that. He's the covert kind. He's very quiet. And so my dad used to tell me, it's the quiet ones you have to watch out for. And I never knew what he meant by that, but it's so true. And because I didn't understand the covert, I only understood about the grandiose. That was even more confusing for me, because you're looking at one person in public and he's acting, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So yeah, so I had to learn more about this covert thing. And the more and more I researched, it was just these aha moments that kept coming up.
Yeah.
And then I started journaling, and I never used to journal. I hate journaling. Now that journaling it is part of what's helped me to survive. Because if I can't sleep at night, I just write. And now I love it, because I have to go back to those notes and remind myself, because it's my writing and they're my thoughts and they're on paper. There's nobody else knowing anything otherwise. So, and that's part of starting to believe yourself.
So for a long time, since you and I've been talking, you've been trying to figure out how to stay with him and how to perhaps, I know you don't think you want to change him, but really you were trying to figure out, what do I have to do to survive in this relationship? Because there were other things that kept you wanting to be there. I mean, he was your best mate at pickleball, and that was a really valuable resource to you. And so a lot of the time that we've spent together is trying to figure out, how do I coexist here? And you finally got to the point where you shifted from, okay, I'm no longer going to try and coexist. Now I'm going to move away. What happened that made you make that shift?
So if I can go back just a little bit, something just came into my head. A big reason why I had a hard time disconnecting was because everybody loves him. Everybody thinks he's so amazing, especially the women. And I was just like, wow, maybe I'm missing something, And so, like, again, nobody's going to believe me, because they know a lot of these people know him more than I do, but they don't know him in the capacity that I do. And I'm like, how do I prove it? And so I had to forget about that. I had to forget about how am I going to prove it. I just have to take care of myself and let the cards fall where they do. And I can't worry about everybody else, because they're not in this relationship. Okay, so what was it? What was your question?
Well, so you went from feeling like, I need to figure out how to stay in this relationship, to, okay, now I need to get out of this relationship.
Well, because again, I had to forget and not be concerned about what other people thought. And also, I had to share with somebody that I trust in my social circle. And so I have like maybe 2 or 3 friends that I was able to share my experience with, and they believed me. So that was super, super important. And that's all I needed, was that validation from my friends who have been through it, or in one way or another. And the minute I started sharing bullet points of my experiences, they're like, yep, you're in an abusive relationship. And so lately I've been telling myself, you were involved in an abusive relationship. I have to keep reminding myself that it's abusive. Every morning I look in the mirror and say, you are choosing to be in an abusive relationship, and that's got to stop. I have to take care of the little girl inside of me.
So I'm just going to make a comment here. Often what your head is thinking and what your heart is feeling don't connect. They don't talk to each other really well. And so speaking out loud and telling yourself what's going on, or journaling, is a way to bridge the gap between what you're thinking and what you're feeling. So you can connect. Trauma is both a cognitive experience and an emotional or a somatic experience. It's the gap between the two that gets us stuck.
Yeah.
Well, so do you think of yourself as a people pleaser?
So I think of myself as a selective people pleaser up until this point. Because, I had issues with my mom growing up. She was a narcissist, but at the time they didn't label it as such. My therapist just taught me about boundaries with her. She was the hardest person to create boundaries with. And so I was aware of that. And, I had to learn to say no. This is like, 30 years ago. And this one just hit me like a freight train. I was not prepared. I haven't had to establish boundaries with anybody like that since my mother. Or no. Yeah, since my mom. And so, I forgot about all that stuff. I thought, I got rid of that part of my life, So with him, I'm, learning to get myself back and to reestablish those boundaries. I seriously don't have a problem with it. I consider myself a strong woman, very fair person. I have lots of friends, and I don't have this problem with anybody else in my life. So that was another fact that helped me feel secure in how I felt.
Yeah. Okay. So if you could think of one thing that made the difference in taking the step to let him go, can you think that what that might be?
Oh, God. My life, saving my life, the anxiety, the sleepless nights, the panicking, all those things that I was feeling, that was enough,
Yeah.
Vanessa, die. And I like being healthy, and I like having my healthy friendships. And they talk about being isolated. And I was watching this one video that said they don't have to say anything to prevent you from going here or seeing this person. It's just their presence. You just know to play it safe and not cause any trouble, and just don't go there. So
Right.
they can isolate you non-verbally. So that hit home with me. So that was super, super important.
So if you were to say, this was my biggest challenge, if I were to boil all this down and say, here's the biggest challenge, how would you define that?
I would say the biggest challenge is going absolutely no contact, although it's getting easier. I remember when you and I first started talking, I had such a hard time with my anxiety. I couldn't control it. So you were helping me with the tapping and the box breathing. I've been doing that in the morning. Like, I wake up in the morning, and to get myself out of that slump, I tell myself, you're getting up, you're washing your face and brushing your teeth. Go get a cup of tea or coffee and sit in your back patio in nature, because I wanted to start regulating my nervous system. And I would just sit outside my patio, and I just felt so much better already, just doing those simple things for myself, those things that I need to do to take care of myself. They're so simple.
Yeah.
So I started doing that, and that's been super helpful. Anxiety's there, but from a 1 to 10, it's more like a 2 now. I can sleep much better now. And I think I shared this with you a little bit, if you don't mind me talking about it.
Sure.
I always hear people saying on the videos, he's a cheater, infidelity, he lies, he does all this stuff. And like, he monopolized my time so much. He was suffocating me. Like, he couldn't get enough of my time. Like I said, it was almost like he was possessed. Yeah, he's very possessive, and I almost feel sometimes like he would stalk me. So, and he would never hide his phone, text freely, answer the phone freely. When somebody's cheating on you, you just know.
Yeah.
He was nothing like that at all. He was just so consumed with me and my time. So, yeah.
So it's I think, a really important point to make, that they're not always cheaters in terms of infidelity with another person.
And I think that's why I wanted to share my story, because you don't hear that enough.
No.
At least I don't hear that. So they don't always cheat. And if they don't cheat, it's because to me in my experience, just because they just want, there's something about you that they want. And you have it.
Well, so as you think back and all that's happened to you, is there one piece of advice you would give yourself back before all this started that would have made all the difference?
Yes. And another thing I want to say is it wasn't like typical love bombing when it was just like, magnets toward each other like that. It was nothing like that. It was super gradual. And so that was another thing that confused me because, from November till like the end of April, we were just friends, pickleball buddies, going to lunch, things like that. So it was super duper slow process. I just wished I would have listened to myself, like listen to your heart, that gut wrenching feeling that,
Red flag.
hmm I wish I listened to them. I'm sure lots of people say that.
So why didn't you? This is really an interesting question that I'd love to get feedback on. So many, in fact, virtually everyone I speak to, when I say, if you go back to the beginning, were there red flags? And they all say yes, of different kinds. Why do you blow past those red flags?
Because I wanted to believe the person that they portrayed themselves as, like I said, like I watched everybody interact with him and he was just so
Perfect.
likable. Yeah. And I'm just like, am I missing something here?
Yeah.
But one thing I'd like to tell people is when you feel like that, just remember you're the one that has been in this intimate relationship with him, and not them.
They don't know.
They only know the friendship side, the side that's in public. They don't
Mhm.
interact with them behind closed doors, or he typically would rage while I was driving. So they never ever, I bet if they did, it would just be like me, they wouldn't believe it. It'd be so hard even if it's right in front of their face, I bet that they would have a hard time with it. And right before you and I started talking, I finally got a small audio recorder and started recording whenever he would start throwing a tantrum. Just listening to his voice, it's so different. It's like he becomes this monster, and it's not really his voice. It's
Yeah.
awful.
Like they're possessed.
They are. They are. Yeah.
Well, that's great advice. Any message you'd like to leave with those who are listening who might be in a similar situation or might still be trying to hang on and hope things will change?
Yes. Try to connect with somebody you trust that you can share your experience with, and connect with somebody like Marv. Or I also do, I believe in the online meetings. It's amazing. I didn't think it would make much of a difference, but when I was able to share, I felt so much better. Like, 20, 30 people are looking at you and they're all like nodding their heads. So you need that validation, however little it is. Just listen to yourself and don't wait till it's too late, because the longer you're in it, the harder it is to climb out of that hole.
Great
And I've
advice.
only
Well,
been doing this for about a year. I can't imagine these people that have been suffering for decades. It breaks my
amazing.
heart to know
Amazing.
that. And I think about that. I'm like, you could easily be one of those people, Renee. So you better get on the wagon.
That's great. Well, thank you for your time. It's been wonderful. And for those of you who are listening, if any of this resonates with you or you've got a story that you'd like to share, just visit marvcurtiscoaching.com and schedule a free 30-minute consultation and we'll get you set up. Hope to hear from you. Once again, thanks so much for sharing.
Aw, thank you for letting me share, Marv. I really appreciate you.
You bet.
All
Bye-bye
right.
now.
Bye.